Hi everyone, thanks for joining our webinar. Today we are going to talk about how to make access to your co-working space super easy. And I'm Helga from Spacebring, the co-working space management platform in a pocket. And you may also know me as a co-working smarts editor. So joining me today is Bernhard, a CEO and co-founder of Kisi. Kisi is an easy-to-use cloud-based software for managing access to your doors. Hi, Barry. Thanks for joining.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please know that our chats are ready for your questions. So feel free to ask any questions about access control or co-working space management, or just to say hi in our chat. Now, let me start with a little bit of prehistory. So when we were preparing for this webinar, we've been really curious about what co-working space operators really think about access control. So we teamed up with Kisi to ask them directly. And first of all, we asked operators if they liked giving members control over their own access. And guess what? You see this graph, and almost 90% said absolutely. It's clear that members wanting independence is a huge deal in the industry. But of course, we didn't stop there. And we asked operators about their most common challenges. And they revealed four biggest pains. The first was related to granting and revoking access manually. This is totally understandable because just imagine trying to keep track of who has a key and who doesn't. And if you forgot to give someone access, this is really sad, yeah? Plus, new members often have to wait around for someone to let them in, and that's a frustrating experience. Then those pesky key cards, they're always getting lost or forgotten, and ordering new ones is a pain every time. And finally, locks. Locks can be a real headache. They break, they are hard to use, and they are always causing problems. But we have good news, of course. And, 90% of operators think that automating access can completely resolve the problem with manual operations, with member onboarding, and with key cards. Now, let's ask our respected guest, Barry, could you please summarize all those benefits automated access gives to co-working spaces? Starting with security, probably, yeah? How does it keep things safe?
Yeah, thanks, Helga. I would say automated access is almost like having a second virtual front desk manager that knows who is supposed to be there and who's not. And overall, this makes your members feel safer. They like to know that their laptops are protected and their belongings. And it's almost like, having another security layer over the normal security that is the lock. And there's obviously many benefits that you're outlining on the slide. So for security, we have automated provisioning. So everyone who is a member has access. Everyone who isn't a member doesn't have access. For the culture, you can do reporting for audits for like which teams are most engaged. You can do 24/7 access. People want to come at any time, but of course, like that puts the burden on the admin to have incident reporting, like last night, this happened. Can I pull a report very quickly? So you can do that, and you just have a new level of comfort and scalability in one single pane of glass. If you have multiple locations or multiple floors, or elevators and like dedicated corporate members or customers, you can manage that all in one dashboard and don't need to go on site or have someone train to run the security system.
Yeah, but for members, it's definitely very convenient, as you said, yeah, for administrators. But what about members? How it makes their life easier?
Yeah, I think for the members, it's all about, it creates some sort of expectation or like a vibe of the space. They can self-service onboard. They know what they have access to and what rooms they don't. So you get a lot less complaints. Everything is a little bit more transparent. And everyone has an easier time following the rules. So if you, for example, if you want to have people to book a desk in advance or pay their membership, the system can check that before they even get in. So it's like it's not just a second virtual front desk person, it's also maybe like a virtual bouncer, but a more helpful one or a nicer one.
Yeah, nice one. Exactly. Thank you so much for summarizing the benefits. I know that there are two types of access control systems. Could you please tell us more about these two types?
Yeah, so I think, and the great thing is we also had this question just now in the chat. I'm just reading it. What type of access control opening doors is the best for co-working spaces? And so what you're showing here on the slide is the two basic main difference in the two types. So one is on premise and one is in the cloud. And cloud-based system is almost like you are renting your access control software, while on-premise means you own and run mostly a Windows machine on-premise yourself.
Mm-hmm. And what are the pros and cons of cloud-based access control?
Cloud-based systems are very easy to set up and use. You don't need to worry about updating your software or maintaining servers. That's all handled for you. Plus, they can grow and scale with your business. So you're not locked into like, here's your space today and a big upfront cost for that. You can scale that as you change your business. Obviously, the downside is that you rely on an internet connection. So sometimes there might be delays, but over time, Kisi has developed a way to deal with that. So we have decentralized caching in all our hardware. So technically, it is a little bit of localized storage, but it's just to make it even faster and independent of cloud-based connection.
Got it. So what about on-premise systems? What underwater stones do we have there?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone, in a modern company uses on-premise systems anymore. It's just something that shouldn't really matter anymore, but it still happens a lot, especially in access control where there's not a lot of knowledge about how access control works. And typically that comes with a hefty price tag on maintenance and training because you need to run the service, you need to pay an IT service to maintain that, to update it. And, you don't, if you want to do it yourself with a cloud-based system, you don't need to be the IT expert. It's just like very easy to get started. The upside of on-premise system is that you have total control over your system, but it comes with the responsibility of being the IT person who loves that.
Yeah, but so which one is best? I think it's pretty understandable from your answers, but yeah, maybe let's make some small conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we also had a question here. Which one is best? Probably someone asked which one is more cost effective. So I would say that's probably how co-working operators would be answering that. What's more cost effective? And so if you are looking for something that's easy to set up, easier to manage, cloud-based is the way to go. But if you have specific security requirements, for example, some of our customers, they for specific applications, if they are a data center or a power plant, or like a financial services provider, they have certain areas where they have local hosted system for good reason. But trust me, a co-working space isn't that environment. Yeah, so if you're the person who uses landlines and dial-up modems, that is probably still the way to go. But ultimately, we've seen many co-working spaces run their operations entirely in the cloud.
Yeah, I see. Thank you so much. So we discussed the pros and cons of cloud-based and on-premise access control solutions. Now, let's talk about how do people actually unlock doors to the space. There are so many different ways: key cards, mobile phones, biometrics. Could you please tell us more about the pros and cons of each specific method?
Yes, and I want to add one, which is why we started actually the companies when we didn't have any of those access methods and we had to ring the doorbell to our own office the whole time. So that's also an access method, annoy the office manager. But yeah, so the classic is, as you said, the plastic key card that you know from maybe hotel rooms or something like that. And you know, if you have a plastic key card, why not use that card and bring it to the phone? So your smartphone could be one of those badges as well. And in the past on iPhone, we used Bluetooth. On Android, we used NFC. Now it's also possible to use NFC on iPhones with Apple Wallet. We also have PIN code options, QR codes, and if you're looking into biometrics, there's options for that as well. It's just not easy to manage, to be honest, and enroll people remotely. But yeah, I would say that's the most common, or in co-working spaces, I think 90% of users use mobile in our deployments. So that is probably the most popular one.
But I believe plastic cards are also still popular, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, it's popular because people are used to it, right? So it's like your room key at home or like your apartment key. You don't really complain about the key because you've used it for what, 10, 20 years. Everyone understands what it is and everyone trusts it. But, you know, like as so many things, it's not the most important thing in your life. So sometimes it gets lost, stolen. You have to call someone to get it replaced. It costs you money. Often co-working spaces charge a fee because it's a headache for them as well. And typically what we see is that if you're in a co-working space who already has cards, you can enable those cards with Kisi, bring them over, and then slowly phase into the new dimension with mobile phones.
Yeah, I see. Or if you have real life, yeah, physical plastic cards, you'd better charge for them, yeah, because members will
Yes,
still.
so you're right. So a lot of spaces say, hey, we are modern, we offer smartphones, you know, it's awesome with Bluetooth and NFC. It's very convenient and secure. Um, you know, you don't have to worry about it anymore to lose your key cards or bother me. But if you really want a key card, we can give you one. But if you lose it, this costs us money. So I think that's how most spaces do it.
Yeah, but co-working space members are really different. Maybe some can have phones that don't support, mobile door unlock, for example. Is this the case? Or it may
Yeah,
be the
so
case? Yeah.
we've had all sorts of obscure user cases in the past. At one point, believe it or not, there was an Amazon phone, and that wasn't compatible with our app. But that's why there's other methods. Even if you put a NFC sticker on the back of your phone and use that to unlock the door, fine. The most obscure access method we had was there was a time when people started implanting NFC chips into their arms. And so you could also enroll those and unlock the door. So there's all sorts of options.
Really? NFC chips in their arms? Yeah. By the way, we have this graph here about remote door unlock, and almost 90% of operators find it super useful. So could you please briefly explain what it is and how it can benefit the operators?
Yeah, so I mean, remote door unlocking is very essential for admins because you're not always there 24/7. And so your members probably access 24/7. And that gives you like the superpower to remotely sit there and just emergency get a Slack notification and just remotely unlock the door. And the cool thing is with video integrations we have, you can then also have the person on video coming through the entrance. So you always know who came in actually, because you want to probably validate that this is really the person who's calling you. So yeah, remote unlocking has been very popular in co-working, not just when you're not there on site, but also when you're in a meeting and you're not at the front desk, you can just use your phone and buzz open the door for like a delivery service or something.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Now we know how to unlock the doors, but which doors should we secure in first turns? First turn, it's probably main location door, right?
Yeah, so there's different doors, obviously, and there's different importance to those. Main entrance is almost like a no-brainer. Of course, you need it. That's the most bottleneck to all the members getting in the door. So I would say that's problem number one. And then I would say a couple of years ago, I would have said office spaces number two, but it has shifted because meeting rooms have been very popular. A lot of companies and individuals book co-working spaces simply for their meeting rooms as well. And that capacity gets increased on the co-working operator side. And the problem is that sometimes someone sits in there and who hasn't booked it. So people start installing wireless door locks or wired solutions on those meeting rooms to enforce the booking rule that they have and make sure that people book the space, and then when during the time they booked and paid for probably also are able to use it. Office space is more popular when it's a dedicated office. For example, corporate member who has 10 people at this office space wants a dedicated locked area. The only other door type I would add here is like service and storage door, like IT room and storage rooms that shouldn't be accessible to the general member.
Yeah, but with offices, I know that there is a trick to co-working operators. They should know about the responsibility that comes to them with installing locks. Because if they are okay with traditional locks, then the responsibility shifts to the tenants, right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
that is like, I see that whenever I'm in a co-working space, early mornings, that you get then one or two keys you're not allowed to copy technically, and then it is one of those days where one of your coworkers needs to come in earlier and then doesn't get into the room, so needs to do the call from the couch. Not the worst thing in the world, but it creates friction and frustration because not all your team is enabled equally, which is very different with mobile phones because you can hand out as many keys as you want, doesn't cost you more.
Yeah, great. And you start to talk about safeguarding, meeting rooms. Isn't it cool if a person, for example, books a meeting room on the members app and then just unlocks the door with their phone, within the meeting room?
Yeah, I think this is awesome. People really don't like if they booked a meeting room and someone is sitting in there already, right? So it happens to all of us before, I guess. And, habits start building very quickly. So if you are taking a phone call and you need a quick space and you see a door open in a meeting room, that's nice. Probably go in there real quick, close the door and do that call. But then, you don't know who booked that meeting room after you or like over you, and that creates frustrations among members. You can always also use that to keep your members happy.
Yeah, and that brings us to a very important question of combining access control system with your main co-working space management platform. Yeah, but and indeed, 90% of operators says that integration between access control system and co-working space platform is really important to them. But how do we actually do it? Should we use one app for everything or two separate apps? How do we do it?
Yeah, I would say no one wants a separate app for all the additional things in a space, right? So everyone wants that one member app where they can book a room, unlock the door, get all the news about the space and everything like that. And that is like the vision that a lot of co-working operators have and the level of quality they want to provide. And it also makes it easier for the space manager because then they get less questions about the different apps and just one app that does it all. On the back end can be different systems, right? So that's why we work with companies like yours. And ultimately, it just provides a better experience for the members, less work for administrators, improved security, and also monetization opportunities. The cool thing is, if you have access control integrated into your tenant app, then you have to use it every day for good reason. And so you have a more visibility for the members, like with the additional services, for example, events or additional rooms you want them to book or anything like that.
Yeah, so exactly. Having one app for everything is a perfect scenario, but unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and sometimes it is impossible to integrate access control system and main management system. What should operators do in this case?
Well, you can still do two separate apps. So nothing against that. You can use a co-working app for your space and tenant management, and you can use access control app like Kisi to do almost like a hard badge replacement or alternative. Nothing wrong with that. Still better than not having a key at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And I have a few more interesting graphs. Just look at this one. Turns out making it easy for people to get in and out makes a big difference. And in fact, almost 80% of co-working spaces saw happier members after improving their access control system. Yeah, now to administrators, we want them to be happy also. So they keep track of everyone, and it's a headache. It's a real headache. Imagine updating two different systems every time someone new joins or leaves. So it's a real nightmare, and that's why operators think that linking up your member info is pretty cool. And almost 90% of co-working spaces agree that linking to member bases is super important. And we already mentioned safety as a top priority in co-working spaces. And most operators, purchase access control system to make their spaces more secure. And really, 80% of co-working spaces said access control system makes a big difference in terms of security. Yeah, so Bernie, we've covered a lot of ground already, but let's finally talk about how to pick the right access control system for a co-working space. What should people think about?
Well, so a lot of times we hear from companies that first thing they go on Amazon and look for a door security system, and they buy something for what they think is very cheap and try to self-install it and realize it doesn't really work for the use case for different reasons. So it is very important that you look at who is active in the space. I think Kisi's in the US and maybe also globally the main solution for co-working spaces, because we started this company about 12 years or so in New York when there was only 3 spaces, and a co-working space of those was our first customer. So we've had the experience from all the way back and evolve the system to make sure it fits the needs of co-working operators.
Yeah, but for instance, I'm a co-working operator. What questions should I ask myself before purchasing an access control solution?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to think about. I always start with the end user experience first, right? So what's your vision? How do you want members to get in? If you have multiple spaces, do you want them to easily get in and out of like the different spaces, or does this not matter to use your door open during business hours? Are you operating 24/7? And if you want that flexibility and that convenience on the end user side, the experience, you probably want to go with a cloud-based system. And you don't have to worry about your own servers and the security of those and all that. But also, I think co-working operators really want to focus on growing their space. So in terms of members, with a system like ours, it's very easy to do even marketing campaigns where you have a list of potential members and you could say, hey, first 10 signups, they get like an access right for that day next Wednesday when it's not busy or something like that. Or Wednesday is maybe not a good day, but Monday. And you can do campaigns around access control. And I think that's where it becomes almost like a revenue driver for spaces.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, but to give an idea, to give our audience an idea of how important access control is, 70% of co-working spaces we talked to said a good access control system helped their business grow. So yeah, just like you said, yeah, and that's really impressive. But let me add just one more last graph, I promise. Let me add that more than half of the operators believe that access control system can actually make a difference to their brand reputation. And this is a big deal and an awesome final point in our today's meeting. Yeah. So, okay, everyone, that's a wrap. We've covered a lot of ground today on making access control a breeze in your working space. And I would say my conclusion is it's not just about unlocking doors. It's about creating an amazing experience for your members and making life easier for your managers and giving your brand a serious boost. Bernie, I can't thank you enough for joining us today and sharing your incredible knowledge. You've been an amazing guest. And to all of you, thank you for tuning in. We hope you've picked up some valuable tips and tricks. And if you're ready to put them into practice, please scan that big QR code. And here you will find our access control guide. And it's packed with everything you need to get started. And if you want to see our solutions in action, you can just scan the smaller QR codes to book a demo calls with Kisi or Spacebring product experts. And please don't forget, we're already planning our next webinar, so it will be really soon. So stay tuned in order not to miss it. Thanks again, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Helga.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.